And who are you?
Oh, the hard questions. I'm Trace Ballou from Mystery Science Theater 3000 and Cinematic Titanic, and you were watching Super Happy Movie Time program
Close
thing.
enough.
SHAMT. It's SHAMT, right?
Hey groovy cats, welcome to Super Happy Awesome Movie Time. I'm Drosh-tastic.
And I'm Moonja. And we've just been digging on a couple of far-out flicks that were set in that turbulent, way-out time of the late 60s and early 70s.
Dig it. First up is Zabriski Point, which was Michelangelo Antonioni's second English language film, following the success of Blow Up in 1966. This time, he wanted to tell the story of the American counterculture.
Heavy. The result was a film that failed both commercially and critically. In fact, it frequently appears on a lot of worst of movie lists.
So then why did you make me sit through this?
Oh, this soundtrack, man. It's Pink Floyd, Jerry Garcia, Roy Orbison. Turn it up! We opened at a college campus with a bunch of student radicals, arguing about the revolution, and getting stuck in debates over the best way, I guess, to brainwash Patty Hearst. This is Mark. He's way too cool for these cats, as evidenced by...
Well, I'm willing to die, too.
Hello?
Not a boredom.
Zing! You just got Zabriskied.
The students start a riot, and the police are sent in to stop it. Gunfire breaks out, and a cop is killed. Mark may have pulled the trigger, but we're not sure. Either way, someone saw him with a gun, and he needs to bug out.
He steals a plane because it's established nowhere that he knows how to fly one, and he makes his getaway. Just like James Garner in The Great Escape. Man, wasn't The Great Escape awesome?
It was. Richard Attenborough as Big X in the tunnels, Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Right. James Coburn is the Australian guy. Steve McQueen is the cooler king. Oh my god,
Charles
so
Bronson gets all kind of claustrophobic.
Yeah, that was kind of freaky because it looked like the escape wasn't gonna happen, and then the tunnel was too short, and...
Right. Zabriskie Point. We also have Daria. She's another free spirit just killing time in the most grotesquely decorated office ever. This really isn't her scene. She's just there to make some bread. She may or may not have a thing going on with her boss. She goes out to the desert to check out some land the corporate pig is thinking of buying.
Along the way, she stops at a small town to meet a guy who works with emotionally disturbed children, and unfortunately, she finds them.
Do we have a piece of ass?
Are you sure you know what to do with it?
Yes.
Luckily, she escapes from the children of the maze and keeps on trucking.
Then Mark spots her from the air. He decides that she must be a groovy chick, I guess based on how she's driving, and he flirts with her by repeatedly buzzing her car with his plane. This is not healthy behavior. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if he landed at the Spawn Ranch. This guy would fit right in.
He lands and they start talking. She trusts this guy who nearly killed her with a plane. Hey, maybe she's the prototype for Bella.
They do the classic hippie thing, walking in the desert, discussing why everything is nothing and all that crap. Sure enough, they end up at Zabriskie Point.
Zabriski Point, part of Death Valley National Park, California, named for Christian Zabriskie.
Then, because it's the late 60s, they have a little free love. Then... people suddenly appear and start having sex around them.
Groovy?
Far out. Okay, let's wrap this up.
A cop comes by and Mark nearly shoots him, but Daria gets in the way. Then a modern-day Walter Brennan shows up and they paint the plane all psychedelic.
A whole lot of loving is what we'll be bringing. We'll make you happy.
Then, for no reason at all, Mark decides he needs to go back to LA, where he's wanted for murder. Whatever. Sure enough, the police are waiting for him, and they gun him down. At least that's what I think happens. We only know because we hear the police talking about it. Okay, Antonioni, we get it. We can't be certain of anything in this plastic, corporatized world. But I hated Mark so much that I actually felt cheated out of not seeing him go down.
Meanwhile, Daria finally gets to Arizona, and like most people who make it to Arizona, she's pretty disappointed. Turns out the scene is way too heavy, her boss is way too obsessed with money and development, so she splits.
She stops and looks back at the house, which explodes. Or maybe it's in her mind. Anyway, we see it explode way too many times, and then we're treated to a montage of the trappings of materialism blown up. It makes no sense, but hey, Pink Floyd is cool.
So that's it?
That's it.
That was pointless.
And stupid, even for a hippie movie.
I can definitely see why the soundtrack made a bigger impact than the movie. I mean, this was 100 minutes of watching paint dry. The story is unclear, the characters are one-dimensional. What were we supposed to get out of this?
Well, Antonioni was a pretty outspoken leftist. He believed in the counterculture and he hated modern society. We could see this all throughout the movie as he lingers on images of corporate material culture. And then he hits us over the head with it at the end. So, really, it's nothing more deep than turn on, tune in, drop out.
More like turn off, eject DVD. I hate this movie.
Yeah, there's really not much going for this one. I totally grok why the critics hated it. I did too.
So it looks like we got some more time.
We do.
So dig it. After Jim showed me that painful rectal itch of a movie, I countered with Greaser's Palace, directed by Robert Downey Sr. Greaser's Palace is best described as the retelling of the life of Christ in the Old West, but with lots of toilet humor and bizarre, strange vignettes.
Seaweed Head Greaser is the constipated tyrant of a ramshackle Old West town. His son, who Greaser calls Lamey Homo, is burned by an invisible ghost.
Know what's apt to go through a tender maiden's head, so save your fire.
He freaks out, and then Greaser kills him.
Elsewhere, Alan Arbus parachutes in wearing a zoot suit. He's Jesse, our Jesus figure, and he's got big dreams.
I'm on my way to Jerusalem to be an actor singer.
There's this whole subplot about this woman who wakes up to find her husband and her son dead with their throats cut. The little boy is Robert Downey Jr. They killed Iron Man.
Deader than a bag of filings. Iron filings. You know, Avengers was great.
Avengers was awesome.
I love the part where they fought.
Yeah, and when Loki shows up and all the buildings thing and that big sort of sneaky thing comes around. And Hulk does his thing and Captain America, and you like the green guy, but he's really like homoerotic feelings.
Right, Greaser's Palace.
The ghost brings the body of Lamey on the back of a donkey to Jesse.
You're on.
And Jesse brings it back to life.
If you feel, you heal.
Meanwhile, Greaser tries to take a dump without success. He's got a mariachi band caged up, and the whole town follows him to the outhouse whenever he goes there. This is repeated throughout the film, apparently for comic effect.
And it just gets weirder from there. This film is just all over the place. You've got Tony Basil.
Hey, Mickey, you're so fine, you blow my mind. Hey, Mickey! Hey, Mickey!
Running around as a bare-chested Indian. You've got Hervé Villachet.
The plane! The plane!
Who's hitting on Jesse.
You got random scenes of God wandering around, as well as the Holy Ghost complaining that no one pays attention to him.
You'll never know what I could do, 'cause you never give me a chance.
There's some song and dance numbers. None of them are any good, but they're interesting nonetheless.
Oh, baby, Jesse's back in town.
There's Greaser repeatedly killing his son Lamey, who then gets resurrected by Jesse, and then Lamey comes back with the same description of heaven every time.
And then all of a sudden, I turn into a perfect smile.
I guess that there's a plot here, but it's mostly just loosely tied together skits. And the walking scenes. There are just so many scenes of pointless walking in this. I think there was less walking scenes in A Walk to Remember. That wasn't even about walking.
See, I think that those are needed. At the time, one couldn't make a serious film about Christ and have it watched by the audience that this film was intended for. You got these strange scenes that may or may not have something to do with the life of Christ, and then moments of silence to process what happened, or even just discuss it.
Wait. You're not actually saying that Robert Downey Sr. was trying to make a serious film here?
Serious? No, not really, but I don't think it's as witless as people think it is.
Who is he, Jip? Who is he, Jip?
There's actually a redemption story for Lamey. Even Greaser has a redemption story. And there's that part where God tells Jesse that it's time.
It's time. Father, I can't do it. Why? I think I found myself, and I really don't trust you. You get moving.
That's the Garden of Gethsemane in a nutshell. I can forgive a lot of this film's sins with just how beautifully simple and direct that scene is. You should all rent this just for the interesting weirdness and the in-your-face offensiveness. I like this because it's such a mess that one doesn't know where it's going, right up until the end.
What are you, nuts? This was just a disjointed, drawn-out poop joke. And speaking of poop jokes, at the end, a building explodes.
In a very similar scene as in Zabriski Point. And yes, we did watch these films back to back, not knowing some of the weird random similarities between them.
Yeah, the long, silent traveling scenes in both films are a weak, but obvious link between them.
And both films end with long scenes of sunsets. But where Zabriski Point is all out there, plotting and existential, Grisha's Palace is at least entertaining in the surprises it brings.
I cannot believe you like this movie.
Here, donuts will make you feel better.
No. You know what'll make me feel better? Into the movie with you.
No!
Are you flirting with me?